All right, so with vertex form, it's f of x, okay, or sometimes y. Remember, those are replaceable. F of x is just your function notation. Equals a, okay, that's going to be the number in front of the parenthesis. If there isn't a number there, what is it going to be? 1, okay. And that a is going to tell us a couple of things. It's going to tell us, first of all, if our parabola is right side up or if it's upside down. And then it also, remember stretch and compression that we talked about, it'll tell if it's just going to be tall and skinny or if it's going to be wide and fat. And that part really isn't a big deal because the way we're going to graph it, you don't really have to pay attention to that. But what you do have to pay attention to is my graph supposed to be right side up or upside down? Okay, so that's what A tells us. And then we have H and K. Okay, H and K are my actual vertex. Okay, H and K are my vertex. So if you look in your formula, inside your parentheses, inside my parentheses is x minus h, and then the squared on the outside. You're welcome. And then plus k. So the one thing that we have to be very important of when we choose our vertex from the standard form is my h is always going to be the opposite of the sign. Okay, so inside the parentheses, if it is a plus, your h will be negative. If it is a minus, your h will be positive. Kind of like our left and right shifts were opposite of what we were doing. And so what we're going to do first is we're just going to practice looking at our equations in vertex form and picking out what our vertex is. Okay, and does anybody know what the vertex of your parabola is? It's the point in the middle. Okay, so it's either the highest point or the lowest point. So it will be the point, and then you'll have matching pieces on either side. It's like symmetric on that vertex. You have an axis of symmetry that goes through there. And then if A is greater than 0, so if A is a positive number, then your parabola is going to open up. So it's going to be like a U shape. Okay, if A is greater than 0, then your parabola opens up. A is positive. And then if A is less than 0, then your parabola is going to be upside down. So it'll be like an upside down U, okay? The reason you want to pay attention to this is just make sure when you graph it, it looks like it's supposed to. Is it right side up or is it upside down? That's the most important part right there, okay? Anybody have any questions? This is not anything new. You should have done this in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. All right, so it's just kind of refreshing everything. We're not going to get in as detailed as you probably did back then. We're just going to kind of keep it plain and simple here. So what we're going to do is you have a few equations here. I want you to choose your vertex. I'm going to do the first one with you. And then decide whether the parabola opens up or if it opens down. That's all we're answering. What is the vertex? And then does my parabola open up or does it open down? So I'm going to start with number 1. I've got f of x is equal to 2 parentheses x plus 3 squared and then minus 5. So let's start with the h. Again, the h is the number inside of the parenthesis with your x, but it is always the opposite of that sign. So since that is a plus 3, my h is going to be negative 3. Okay. And I'm just going to put a V next to it so that you know that that is our vertex. That is our center point on our parabola. And then your k is the number that is behind your parentheses or behind your x squared. And it is going to be exactly as it is. So in this case, it is a negative 5. So my k value is going to be negative 5. Okay, so that's the vertex. We're going to use that as our starting point when we start to graph here in a few minutes. And then the next question I want to know, does it open up or does it open down? Look at your a value, the number in front of the parentheses, the number in front of your x squared. Is it positive or is it negative? Positive, so it's going to open up. And that's what I want you to do for those. Okay, so just take a couple of minutes, pick out your vertex for 2, 3, and 4, and then decide if it opens up or if it opens down. That's all we're answering right here. number 2. Let's start with our vertex. What is my h value? Again, it is the opposite of the number that is inside the parentheses with your x squared. What would it be? Positive 1. And then your k is the number behind the parentheses, and it is what it is, which is going to be 4. And then my a, the number in front of the parentheses, or the number in front of my x squared, is it positive or negative? Negative. So this one is going to open down. Whoops. All right, what about 3? What's my vertex for 3? Negative 2, positive 1. And how is it going to open? And then 4, what do you think? Vertex? And then up or down? Up. Anybody have any questions on picking out the vertex and deciding whether it opens up or down? All right. So, good. Because the number in front of it is negative, it's less than 0, so that makes it flip upside down.
Is any of this going to determine whether the thing is closed?
No, these are all be closed. Okay. Yeah, these will all be closed. Everybody ready? Now we're going to start with our graphing, and the very first thing that we want to do when we graph is decide what our vertex is. That's going to be our starting point. So let's take a look at that first graph. Look at the first function. The very first thing I want you to do is see what your vertex is. All right, so let's start with the vertex. What would my vertex be here? Negative 2, negative 1. And just so that I have it in my mind when I go to graph, is this thing going to open up or open down? Up, because my a value is positive. There's a 1 out there. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to plot that point, negative 2, negative 1 on your graph. This is the center of your parabola. Okay, so negative 2, negative 1 is going to be my starting point. There is what we call, have you guys remember hearing about an axis of symmetry? Okay, that's the vertical line that goes through that vertex. I'm going to draw it with a highlighter. You don't have to draw it on yours. I just want to kind of show you your graph is going to be symmetric on either side of that line. That means whatever points are on the left or right side, they're going to be matched on the other side. So far, so good? All right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pick 4 values, and this is how we choose them. We look at the x value of our vertex, or h, okay? H and x, kind of the same thing in an ordered pair. X comes first. I want to pick the 2 x values directly to the right of that, and the 2 x values directly to the left of that. Okay, so let's try that one more time. So let's start to the right. If I'm thinking of a number line, what 2 numbers are directly to the right of negative 2? Negative, that's to the left, other way. Negative 1 and 0. Does everybody understand where those numbers come? Think about your number line. I've got negative 2. The next numbers directly to the right are going to be negative 1 and 0. Then I want the 2 numbers directly to the left, which would be negative 3 and negative 4. Anybody have any questions on how I pick those numbers? All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to hard. We're going to start with that first x, and I'm going to plug it into this part of my function. Okay, so where the x is, I'm going to put -1. Everything else is going to stay the same. I'll come in and fill in a couple things. All right, and then let's simplify that. Inside your parentheses first, what is -1 plus 2? 1. Okay. Then what is 1 squared? 1. And what is 1 minus 1? 0. Okay, so the y value for that -1 is going to be 0. I want you to repeat the process for 0. Then repeat the process for -3 and repeat the process for -4. Okay, we plugged in -1. Now plug in 0, then plug in -3, then plug in -4. Yeah, so what we're going to do is where the x is in my function, I'm going to plug in 0 now. So I'd put in 0 in place of x. Work inside the parenthesis first. 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay. Then we have to square that. What is 2 squared? 4. And then what is 4 minus 1? 3. So that y value would be 3. That goes with the 0. And then do the same thing again with -3 and then -4. Squared plus k. All right, we h and k are vertex. Except for h, we're always plus h is negative. The minus is positive. Okay, and then the k value is just going to be whatever it is. Okay, so that's how we pick out our vertexes looking at those two letters. K stays the same. H changes, k stays the same. Then if my a value, the number in front, if it's bigger than 0, so if it's positive, my graph is going to open up, so it's going to go like a U shape. If it's negative, less than 0, then it's going to open down. So what we did here was we picked out our vertex. So h is going to be the opposite of that. And then k is going to be whatever. And then based on this, is it going to open up or down? And that's the only answer for that. Bigger than 0, it opens up. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. When you plugged in -3, what did you get? You got 0, right? And what about -4? You got 3. Do you see how you got the same two y values for those points? That's because they're symmetric. They're going to be in the same position on either side of my vertex. So what I need you to do now is plot each one of those points and then connect your dots. You're going to put arrows on either end. And how should this graph be facing? Up. So once you get it plotted, those points, if it's not facing up, that means you did something wrong somewhere. Okay? So we have to look at the vertex is the middle point of our graph. We pick it from here. Of whatever the sum is. K is going to be whatever it is. If my A value is like for this one. Yeah. So in this one it would be what? And then if my A value, the number in front, if it's positive, my graph is going to open up. If my A is less than 0 or negative, it's going to open down. Yeah, you can just pick out your vertex and then say it goes open up or down. If you finish graphing that, go ahead and move on to number 6. Choose your vertex. Choose your next, your 2 points to the right and 2 points to the left. Plug them in and get your web and start working on that one. So this is our vertex form. Okay. So we can choose our vertex in this form really easily. H is my vertex. And K. So like for example here, my H is here, but it's always going to be the opposite of the side. So H would be negative. And K is what's out here. And it is whatever side it is. Okay, so that's what my vertex would be. Then if my A map is over in front, if it's positive, my graph is going to open up. And if it's negative, it's going to open down. It's going to be upside down. So this one is a positive. How do you so here, we start with our vertex. I have to put x2 to the left.
Oh, you mean how you choose it? How you choose it, right?
Because you're going to get points on either side. Your vertex is your center of your graph. So I'm going to get 2 points to the right and 2 points to the left.
I've got to get my previous one.
So points directly to the left. So negative 1 is 0.
Awesome. I'm choosing the big right.
That's where I got it. Then I just take each one of these and work it out. That's how most come about. And then you just graph it. Okay. So you want 2 points to the right of this. They're looking at x values to the right. So what's directly to the right of 4? 6. So we're going to choose that. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you had that already. So we're going to choose 5 and 6. And then I want 2 points to the left. So that would be, yeah. And then you just take each one of those apart. Yeah, just as long as you pick 2 to the right and 2 to the left. Doesn't really matter which ones you do first. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, because this is not because that's it. Whatever number. Yeah. So, where's 0? No, I just said the points are going to match. Finish graphing. So part point negative. Be in the same spot, the same number of axes. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's good. All right, so let me finish graphing these. I'm going to plot the point negative 1, 0. Maybe. And then I'm going to plot the point 0, 3. And then negative 3, 0. And negative 4, 3. So before I move on, we talked about the axis of symmetry. I have it drawn with that yellow highlighter. The whole point in that is sometimes once you get the hang of this, you can just pick points on one side of the graph and then make them appear on the other side of the same place. Okay. So what I mean by that is this red dot right here is 1 unit away from my axis of symmetry. So the other side is going to be exactly the same. It's just going to go 1 in that direction. Here it is 2 units away from my axis of symmetry, and so is that one. Okay, the points are going to match up on either side. That's the point of talking about the axis of symmetry. You can kind of cut your work a little bit once we get used to it. But my graph is going to look like this. I'm going to connect my dots. Again, all of these will always be open points, and I'm going to put arrows on either end. Did it open up like we said it was going to? It did. Kind of makes sense? Okay. We should be working on 6 now. Except for I think a lot of us are done with 6. What's the vertex for 6? 4 and 2. Okay, and is this one going to open up or down? It's going to open up. Not that I need to write that down. I just need to keep that in my head. So I'm going to plot the 0.42. And then remember, 2 points directly to the right of 4, 2 points directly to the left of 4. So think about your number line. What are the next two numbers directly to the right of 4? To the right of 4. 5 and 6, okay. And then what two numbers are directly to the left of 4? 3 and 2. And then we're going to plug those in. If, once you get the hang of this, when you plug in the two numbers to the right, those y values are going to match the two numbers to the left, okay? You shouldn't have separate y values. It should be the same two y values repeated. So I'm going to plug in 5 first. Inside the parenthesis, 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 squared is 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3. Does everybody agree with that? Yes? Okay. I'm going to plug in 6. 6 minus 4 squared plus 2. That's 2 squared plus 2. So that's 4 plus 2, which is going to give me, bless you, 6. What did I get when I plugged in 3? 3. And when I plugged in 2? 6. Okay, so now I can plot those points again. 5, 3, 6, 6, 3, 3, 2, 6. And that one is opening up as well, like we said, right? We get the idea? All right. If you haven't already, go ahead and do 6 and 7. Pick out your vertex. Choose points directly to the right, directly to the left. Make sure once you finish graphing that it is opening in the direction that it is supposed to open. Tell that just by looking at A. So then you chose 6 and 7. 6 minus 5 is 1 squared is 1. But then the negative's on the outside, so you gotta square it first.
Oh.
That makes sense. Yeah. Be careful with 6, that when you're plugging your values in, that negative that is in front of your parentheses, this is what you're going to do. You're going to subtract or add inside the parentheses first, then you're going to square, then you multiply it by -1. Remember order of operations, parentheses, then exponents, then multiply, okay? Yeah, that negative, I meant 7, sorry. Thank you. Number 7, that has the negative in front of your parentheses. You work inside the parentheses first, then you square, then you multiply by -1. Then you can add or subtract whatever is behind the parenthesis. So be very careful with those. Keep your order of operations in mind. Parentheses, then exponents, then multiply, then add and subtract. So plug in 6. 6 minus 5. And then we square it. Keep in mind, this always has to be a U shape, whether it is facing up or facing down. It should not be some janky little mess where I got dots all over the place. Okay, they have to be a U shape. That's the whole point in a parabola.
What did we say? Like if I got 6 and 7 and just repeat
As long as, okay, so as long as like 6 is the one directly next to 5, so 6 and 4 will match because those are the one side, and then 7 and 3 will match. Does that make sense? I'm just checking. All right, so let's look at 6. 6 minus 5. Okay, then we square first. 1 squared is 1. Then times that. And then negative 1 minus 4 would not be negative 3. Does that make sense? If you're the number of problems is up, if it's negative, it's down. What is my vertex for number 7? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to plot that point first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. All right, what x values are directly to the right of 5? 6 and 7. What about to the left? 4 and 3. Now, I want to do the plugging in because I'm having some people have issues. Okay, I'm going to start with my 6 first. Yep. Okay, again, order of operations says we have to work inside of our parentheses first. So that negative is going to stay. I keep my parentheses. What is 6 minus 5? 1. Okay. Then order of operations says we have to square first. That negative is not inside my parenthesis, right? So it does not get squared. The only thing that gets squared is what's inside the parenthesis, which is the 1. So 1 squared is just 1. And then we multiply it by that, which is a negative 1. And so I should get not negative 3 in this case, but negative 5. Then we're going to do the same thing with the 7. We're going to work inside the parentheses first. Then we square. What's 2 squared? And 4 times a negative 1 is negative 4. And then what is negative 4 minus 4? Negative 8. Okay, so those should be the values that you got for 6 and 7. So negative 5 and negative 8. And then you're going to do the same thing for 4 and 3. If I plug in 4, what do I end up getting? Negative 5. And if I plug in 3, I get negative 8. So, let's see. 6, negative 5, 7, negative 8. And then, again, those are just matched on the other side of my parabola. That is, yeah, okay, sorry. I didn't, hold on, my points are in the wrong spot. You can't count. Try that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 8. 5, and then 8. And I can connect my dots again. It has to be a U-shaped. It is upside down because that A part is negative. Is everybody okay with that one? 8's going to work the same way. There is a negative in front of our parentheses. So when we plug it in, we have to be careful to work our order of operations properly. What is the vertex? Negative 2, negative 3. Okay, so let me plot that. Negative 2, negative 3. Then I want to choose my values. Think about your number line. What 2 numbers are directly to the right of negative 2? Negative 1 and 0. And then to the left, there you go. So again, we're going to be careful when we plug these in. All right, so first we're going to plug in negative 1 plus 2 squared minus 3. So again, inside the parentheses first. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Then we square. What's 1 squared? And then 1 times negative 2 is, so negative 2 minus 3 would give me negative 5. So that's for the negative 1. Then we're going to do the same thing for 0. Inside the parentheses first, 0 plus 2 is 2. Then we square 2. What's 2 times 2? And then 4 times negative 2 is, and that one gives me negative 11, which is going to be, I don't know if this has 11 on the bottom or not, but we'll check and see. So for negative 1, we got negative 5. For 0, we got negative 11. What about negative 3? What would we get for that? Negative 5. And 4, we would get negative 11. They should match. All right, let's see. Negative 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I do have space. Okay. It's going to be that very bottom line there. And then I'm plotting the other points. Oh, that was not pretty. Remember, when you're graphing these, try your best to make it look like a curve as much as you can. It should not be a V shape. Okay, it should be a curve, a U, whether it's right side up or upside down. Anybody have any questions on where any numbers come from, how to get the vertex, anything like that?